welcome everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the February 2022 meeting of the Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club. Looks like we've got a lot of participants tonight, and we're looking forward to a good presentation also. This evening, we're going to hear from Doug Pelley WB7TUJ about antennas. And like usual, we're going to have door prizes. I apologize for many of those who weren't able to join us this evening. I know a few have already shown up over at the City Council chamber room because they don't get the message, and I'm sorry again for that. But for those of us that are here, let's go ahead and move on. And I am going to start off by first turning the time over to Wendy at KW3NDY for her announcements. Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay. All righty. We had a great time at Field Day. Winter Field Day was last weekend, and we had, I don't know, 50, 60 people show up. We had a lot of help setting up antennas. We had a lot of help taking down antennas and had a good time. We made, I saw over 1,000 contacts, which is over 13,000 points. So it was a good time. You know, the weather was nice. It was warm, not warm, cold and sunny, but very clear and didn't have too much wind. So that was nice. We had a good turnout. We had some new people get on HF, and there was quite a bit of activity until it got really dark. When I was logging, we actually got a call from Hawaii. So that was kind of interesting. We hadn't had one before that. And there was a person doing CW, and there was some digital work being done. And so it was a fun time, and you know, it was a great experience. Every time we get to see our friends and participate in HF.
So how many contacts did you make personally?
I only logged.
Oh, I see. You see, now, had you've been actually on the air making contacts, people love your voice so much, Wendy, that I think that we could probably have doubled our number of contacts.
Well, so maybe next time.
Yeah. But yeah, we ended up with over 1,100 contacts.
Yep.
So it was really nice. All right. Anything else?
Looking forward to Summerfield Day.
Good enough. Thank you so much, Wendy. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's see. So, yeah, we got other activities coming up too. One of them is our the 76ers barbecue coming up on June 4th. That's going to be Saturday, June 4th, over at the
put this on Bluetooth so you don't have to listen to it.
Let's see. I think we lost her.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So Highland Glen Park, June 4th, Saturday. We'll be starting about 10 a.m. like usual, and going to about 2 or 3 whenever they kick us out of there. And there we should be setting up a station, fox hunt, have good chicken barbecue. I don't know if we're going to have hush puppies this time or not, but looking forward to a good bean casserole by Carl's wife. I don't know, just a lot of things happening. So there you go. Saturday, June 4th, Highland Glen Park for 76ers barbecue. Also, I just wanted to remind everybody about the Ham Radio University, again, coming up Saturday, February 19th at the BYU Law School building. And we've got 4 different teachers who's going to be putting on different subjects. It's going to be pretty exciting because we've got several very basic things to talk about. So bring those who, or encourage those who are new to ham radio to come to this so they can find out what comes after getting their license. And then also there will be a couple of people talking about advanced topics. So it's always a lot of fun, a lot of good times getting together, rubbing shoulders with people who just got their licenses. So really good stuff, and good time to show a good example. And this is going to be over at the law school building. And each of the classes will be held 3 times at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m. And again, at the law school building at BYU on Saturday, February 19th. No registration required, no cost. Just show up and try banging on the door and we'll let you in because the doors will be locked. And let's see, so last is Lauren on at this point. He wasn't sure if he's going to make it this time. So Lauren, are you on tonight? All right, looks like Lauren did not make it this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and do his spot. And he is the one tonight who's announcing the new and upgrade hams. And strangely enough, we did not get very many this time. When we did the list last month in our club meeting in January, there was a whole slew of new hams. But since that time, we've only had what, 8 of them, 8 new hams. So they include Ethan Bound, Ethan Bean, Jeff Smith, Clint Wilson, Rodney Erickson, Brian Carden, Nick Sampson, and Stephen Humes. Clap, clap, clap. Welcome to the world of ham radio if you are listening in. And then last of all, our upgrade, we only have one upgrade that showed up during that month, and it was Jim Cooper. Our very own Jim, he earned his extra. So Jim, congratulations. All righty. Let's see, was there anything else, Trevor? I don't have anything else either.
We're still doing an ugly antenna thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to Trevor for mentioning another event that I'd forgotten about. And this is, so on July 14th, anyway, sometime in July, I think it's July 14th, we are combining 2 activities. One is our annual ham radio fair and our ugly antenna contest. And so we've secured the Linden Community Center to do that. And it'll start about 6 p.m. Again, July 14th. So this is way in advance, but this is going to give you who are interested in creating the ugliest antenna on the planet to bring it to our meeting there. And there'll be places outside you can stage your antenna. And the requirement is that you must be able to transmit through that antenna for at least 1 city block. And if you could, go through, for instance, VHF and hit the repeater, well, that's good enough because that goes more than a city block. HF, got to be able to demonstrate it. So ugly antenna contest and ham radio fair, July 14th. Some of these antennas can look pretty ugly too. I mean, if you've ever seen any of mine, you know how bad they can be. So ugly antenna contest, looking forward to it. It's a lot of fun. And last, I just want to say thanks so much to Trevor for volunteering his workplace, like we've done in the past to stage these Zoom meetings for our club meeting. So thank you, Trevor, very much for that. Appreciate that. The club is very grateful. So with that, let's see if Doug is online. Doug, are you ready to take over this great evening?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Well, you sound pretty good, and I think you got control of the Zoom. The time is yours.
All right. You want me to talk about antennas and kind of left it open. So what I think I'm going to do is talk about some basic fundamentals here and there, and hopefully answer some questions that a lot of hams have asked me lately. And then pretty much just a show and tell of pictures and different types of antennas and how to install them, how not to install them. Most of the pictures are going to be VHF, UHF related, although we'll cover some HF installations and all that. And depending on the time there, no G, if I overrun, let me know. And if we come short, then we could open it to a Q&A session.
All right. Well, if I start throwing tomatoes at the screen, you'll know.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Will I be able to see? Let's see. I'm going to share my screen here. I got to figure out how to do that again. Let's see. I think this does it. And I think this does it here. I think. All right. All right. I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, looks good.
Okay. Let's see. I got pictures in here blocking. Let me minimize that. Okay. Let's just start out. This is out of these first few pictures here directly out of the ARRL antenna book. I highly recommend that every one of you, if you have any interest in antennas, wanting to build antennas or learn about antennas and antenna theory, how they work and all that, this is probably the best resource you can buy that would be in one package. Buy it from the ARRL. I think it's about $50. If you're an ARRL member, wait for your birthday to come around and you get a discount on it. And this, along with the ARRL handbook, I've used both of these books in my professional career in radio, and it's come in handy a lot. One question that people ask is, typically when you see antenna specs on antenna gain, depending on, is the antenna made for hams or is the antenna made for commercial service? You'll see the gain figure in dBi, which is gain over an isotropic, or dBd, gain over a dipole. So just a touch base here, the real difference between the two and why the isotropic figure is larger than the dipole figure is, remove the flashlight from the picture here, but just take this perfect circle. And if this perfect circle in a perfect world was an antenna, it would be radiating equally in every possible direction, every azimuth, every elevation, completely around the circle. It would be radiating the same exact amount. And then come down here to a dipole. And here's your typical dipole, because a dipole radiates a pattern somewhat like a Parker House bun, some people will say. Two pancakes sitting side by side, however you want to say it. Looking looking down on a dipole, that's going to be its pattern. This is the element here. Let's say that this is running east and west. You're going to have a big null to the east, big null to the west, and here's your gain figure right here. Another shot of the dipole and its radiation pattern. This is all reference to a half-wave dipole, which is your fundamental dipole, and just about every antenna out there, with a few exceptions, is referenced against a dipole. They're all referenced against dipole and gain. And as far as construction, the majority of the antennas, no matter how large the array or whatever else it is, it's referenced against a dipole. Now I got to get out of this. I don't do Zoom. I need to practice Zoom more than I do here.
You're doing just fine, Doug.
Here we go. Whoops. Okay. Let's see. Let's get into a little bit of comedy here. Again, well, let's see. Before we do that, let's go. Let's look at. Let's look at some typical antennas on typical tower sites, because we're talking about dipoles. Notice most of these are commercial. Some of them are ham, some are 2 meters, like, let's see, I know this site. That's a ham antenna. That's a 146 megahertz antenna there. And this one here, that's tuned to that's public safety antenna, tuned to 155. These are UHF, some of these, and I'd have to look them up to see which are which. Some are in 440 ham service, some are in 460 commercial service. But either way, notice how they are made from dipoles. That's an array of dipoles. Two dipoles facing the same direction. That particular model of an antenna has a direction, a gain of 6 dB, and it's still unity gain off the back side. You could rotate one around and it would be omnidirectional 3 dB gain. And that's all referenced over a single dipole. Again, everything you see here are dipoles, made up of dipoles. The antennas that are in fiberglass radomes, such as these here, what's inside of those radomes? They're all end-fed antennas. So I guess to use the term dipole, depending if it's a half wave, you could almost call it a dipoles inside, but typically they're made up of end-fed, a series of end-fed half waves or 5/8 waves. 5/8 wave is more common for the makeup of most of those antennas. So when you're talking on VHF through a mountaintop repeater, typically you're talking through an antenna like any one of these, depending on your 146.78, that's on a collinear stick. The 147.02 ERC radio on West Mountain has one of these antennas on it here, just for some examples. Let's see, let's move on here. This is an FM broadcast antenna here. Now this antenna is circular polarized. We typically talk about being vertically polarized like so. And for HF and also for working VHF, UHF sideband, typically horizontal polarization is commonly used. Most FM broadcast stations, their antennas are circular polarized. And these, let me get, I think I got another picture that's a closer in. Yeah, there we go. These are actually dipoles. Right, there's a dipole, right, there's a dipole. And you can kind of see they resemble, the slang name in the industry for these antennas are rototillers. They kind of resemble a rototiller, or they kind of resemble two sets of bicycle handlebars. You can look at it either way. But each one of these are dipoles. The way they're oriented produces what's known as a circular pattern. You have RF energy in all the way around the circle, radiating from the antenna pretty close to an equal amount. There are some other antennas that you'll see elements vertical, others horizontal. They produce a cross polarization pattern. You've got a large, go ahead.
Is that you there in that on that
That is not me. I haven't climbed a tower like that in many, many years. No, that's not me. That's just a client that I had way back when the antenna was being installed. That's one of the and anyways, where was I? Yeah. Cross polarization gives you a good vertical and a good horizontal component. Circular polarization gives you equal amount of energy in all directions, which is very advantageous in the broadcast world because of all the different consumer grade receivers out there in all different attitudes and angles and who knows what for antennas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just if you never noticed or ever seen an FM broadcast antenna before, that's a typical one there. This little goodie right here is on FM translator. It's somewhat of a halo. Now that's a horizontally opposed antenna. Some people would call them a halo, but it's not really truly because it is pretty much a resonant dipole here, just designed in that pattern, and it is a horizontal pattern. Here we see Yagis in a vertical pattern. Everyone's probably seen a Yagi before. More Yagis here. Here's some more. This is a Station Master VHF here, collinear stick. And this is just a bigger picture of the other tower. These antennas over here are panel antennas. These particular antennas here are all 900 megahertz. But what's inside one of those panels? Do I have a close-up, I think? Nope. Oh, well, there's another panel. I thought I had a close-up of a panel. What's inside one of those panels? I'll zoom it in like that with my fingers on the screen. Nothing more than a series of dipoles stacked on top of each other from top to bottom, just a series of dipoles there to produce a pattern with gain in this direction. And how the dipoles are configured in there, the spacing between them determines gain, pattern, etc. And these antennas actually are vertically polarized here. Many antennas, go ahead.
Are those what you see on cell phone towers?
Very similar. Cell phone antennas are typically panel, and many of those cellular antennas are actually circular or cross-polarized because, again, like your consumer broadcast receiver, where is your cell phone? How many have a cell phone that's on a mobile antenna vertically polarized or whatever? So you want to try to get as much RF, a pattern that's just has RF everywhere in it, for lack of better terms to call. These are not cellular again, but they are 900 megahertz antennas. Very close in frequency to where the cellular system operates. Let's see what else we have. Here's panel antennas here. This is a this is a TV transmitting antenna. This will be a horizontal pattern here. And again, inside here will be dipoles spaced a specific distance apart. So they produce a specific pattern and a specific gain. And notice how the panels are actually deliberately engineered to be at these various different azimuths to produce the engineered pattern that this station is supposed to transmit to be legal. You run into a lot of that stuff with broadcast. You'll never run into that with any ham radio related or hardly anything land mobile related. But in the broadcast world, that's a different animal, and that antenna has to provide such and such of field strength at such and such location. Outside, you run around, you might see people running around with field strength meters or spectrum analyzers and pull off to the side of the road with a Yagi antenna pointing it at a site. That's probably what they're doing, is looking at field strength from a specific broadcast transmitting antenna. This antenna here is also broadcast, FM broadcast. That's a log periodic antenna, just a different type. The antenna book is full of the hows and the whys in that. If you wanted, I could do something and go into the specifics another time if there would be interest in more into how they work and why they're designed that way.
Doug?
Yeah.
What would be the purpose of a log periodic like that at a broadcast site?
Translator, receiving antenna for translator.
I'm just curious why they wouldn't cut it for a specific frequency.
Because sometimes translators have been known to change receive frequencies, and you want an antenna that's capable of receiving across the band in some instances. And in other instances, that's what they had, so they threw it on the site. And we're talking about, this is a receiving antenna, not a transmitting antenna for broadcast. Because if you were to use that, there are transmitting antennas that are horizontally polarized Yagis in the broadcast world. But again, it has to be, when you apply for a license, it has to be engineered that it's going to have X amount of power hitting that antenna pattern and gain taken into consideration, so it blankets a specific area. broadcast engineers that design these systems, they make good money. Sometimes I wish I would have gotten into that side of it, but it's not as fun as being out in the field. Okay, let's see. I think this is just more of the same here. Let's move on. Let's get into how not to install an antenna and maybe how to install an antenna. What's wrong with that picture? I'm looking for an answer. Somebody have an answer? What's wrong with that picture?
It looks like they just set it inside of a pole and didn't anchor it.
Correct. Will the antenna work? That way it's perfectly, almost perfectly vertically polarized. Is there any reason the antenna wouldn't work? Anybody have an answer?
Maybe because it's right next to that microwave dish.
Nothing to do with it. Forget the other antennas around it in this picture. Just why would that antenna pose a problem? And I'll give you a little hint. There are multiple radios on this site that are receiving. There's your hint. What's wrong with that picture?
Does it become resonant?
You're kind of hitting in the right ballpark. You're not there though.
Save me, Noji.
Is it because it's not grounded right?
You're hitting in the right ballpark, kind of, sort of here. What happens? What is this antenna doing when it's transmitting? It's emitting energy. Even down here, the other side, the counterpoise, the other side of this antenna, there's RF energy here. What is with this thing slipping and slopping around in this loose connection? What's that energy have a potential to be doing there? It has a potential to be arcing and sparking inside of there, alongside of here. And what's that going to do? That's going to create broadband RF noise. And what's that noise going to do? It's going to desensitize other receivers on the site. Other than it's slop hazard, Mickey Mouse looking, if it wasn't for that issue, it would work. But because of that issue, it's not going to be allowed on any site that has any type of site management. That's for darn sure.
Also, I wouldn't leave it like that, because when the wind starts blowing, it's going to cut that coax also.
There's
And-
another.
And it's also going to cause arcing between the braid and that tube.
There you go.
Passive intermod comes to mind too.
There, absolutely. Aside from broadband noise, it greatly increases the potential for intermod. Here's the farther, this is that same antenna there, just a farther away view. See, it's pretty much, it is, I mean, if it was the only antenna on the site, you didn't have to worry about noise into receivers and didn't care if the antenna got destroyed by the weather or whatever, sure, it would work fine. But, you know, because of these, Here's one of my favorites of all. This is what happens when you get IT people that think they know, and I don't want to insult anyone here that's in the IT world, because I have the highest respect for IT people, because digital stuff intimidates me. I'm an old schooler, and I have the highest respect, but there are some professional IT people that think they know a little something about radio. And when they think they know something and they really don't, they produce something like this. And this was done at a town community, a town complex, city complex in a town in Arizona. This was done by professionals. What's wrong with that picture? Any answers?
Looks like you got multiple antennas or cameras that are right in the radiation patterns for the other antennas.
This don't count this gray thing, but these two dipoles, again, antennas made up of dipoles. This is one antenna. This is a UHF antenna. And what do? Here's two dipoles. Here's the close in near field between these dipoles, where the pattern, the antenna's pattern is actually created. And what do? They stick metal right in the middle of, I don't care what the equipment is, but they stick metal right in the middle of that. And this particular radio underneath this antenna was working great. And the next day, the radio just didn't seem to have the range that it used to have, especially transmitting. And someone went out and took a picture and sent that picture to me. And because I says, well, you probably have an antenna system problem. Let's take a look. I can come out, but you know, send me a picture if you have, and let's just see the antenna. That was the picture.
Hey, as long as it fits on the rack, it should work, right?
Yeah, right. I think the camera worked okay. And then the guy went back up and removed it. I didn't even have to go out because the radio was working fine.
I'd be
Anyway.
surprised if the camera didn't stop working while they were transmitting.
I guess there could be potential for that, depending on what RF might do to it, depending on those parameters. But yeah, but evidently it worked just great. But that's one of my real classics, is how not to do one. Here's another one. What's wrong with that picture here?
It's underexposed? No.
Oh, it's not, well, yeah, bad photography there. Don't blame me for that. But, well, you can blame me for that. I took it. So anyways, problem with that is, and nothing can be done about this problem, but again, we have antennas all in the same vertical plane. We have some antennas that are transmitting antennas, some antennas that are receiving antennas. That antenna here is a repeater, so it's transmitting and receiving. And let's see, these are VHF, and that's UHF, and that's UHF over here. So what happens when you have this VHF, and this is a public safety site, except it's all public safety up here. And you get this antenna transmitting at, and I'll use commercial frequencies at, let's say, 155.675. This one's receiving at 154.34. You know, they're a little over megahertz apart. But look, the antennas are physically located maybe 10 to 12 feet apart. They're in each other's, right in, pretty much in each other's, definitely near field, close in near field maybe. You're going to have a walloping signal coming in from here into here. And even with high-end bandpass filtering and high quality GE or Motorola radios with real receiver selectivity, you're still going to have some descents when this thing's trying to receive a weak signal. This guy's transmitting. So again, the way the mountaintop is, the way that was laid out, there's nothing that can be done about it. It was lived with. It wasn't that big of an issue. But again, I just wanted to show the picture to show the potential.
We had a similar situation in the Air Force, in the unit I worked in. We had it was about a semi-trailer sized container. And it had 4 UHF, VHF antennas, 2 stacks on each corner. So they were one stacked on top of the other and then diagonally across the trailer. You had to be very careful about which radios you were using at any one time, because you'd actually blow the receiver out of the radios if you weren't careful.
Absolute. It do happen. In fact, I have a story about an FT891, but there's no time tonight to share that one, but I hear you. This tower here, this is a 700-foot tower, and this is the 330-foot, 320-foot level right here. This one, this is a DB224, 4 dipoles at V, 4 dipoles at U. This is a UHF antenna. This has a ham radio on it now. And this is in Queen Creek, Arizona. And what's wrong with the picture? And you'll say nothing is wrong with this picture, but there's a little something wrong that I just wanted to touch on. These are omnidirectional antennas. If they're out free and clear, they're omnidirectional. And even though they're spaced a good couple of feet off the tower leg itself, these antennas actually are not perfectly omnidirectional. The UHF one especially, and probably more so because it's a ham antenna. These are public safety and cover mainly just the immediate area, so you don't notice it. But the UHF, when you're north, this is on the southwest leg here. When you're north of this tower, signal is definitely weaker than when you're on the other side of this tower. Hams wonder, why is the radio stronger here and there? There's the reason right there. If that was on the top of the tower where it was completely in the clear, then it would be perfectly omnidirectional. So I'm not saying that this antenna was installed improperly. I'm just saying that this has to be taken into consideration when you install an antenna on a tower, if it has to be side mounted, because there's no way you're going to keep the tower from being a part of the picture, being a parasitic in there and affecting the antenna's pattern in one way, shape, or form or another. There's a close-up of it there.
Does that guy wire also affect it? That looks like it's pretty close.
Hard to tell. I would say probably not. But notice the guy wire. Good question, because the close-up of the guy wire here. What are these? Why are these here? Anybody know? These are insulators right here to keep the guy wires cut fairly short and at specific lengths so they won't radiate. There's a 30 kilowatt FM transmitter at the bottom of the tower feeding an antenna at the very top. And it's a rototiller like the one in the others. It's an 8-bay, I believe. And the insulators on the guy wire will prevent the guy wires from radiating and producing an issue with the pattern of the FM station's antenna. These are very common in AM transmitting towers also. In fact, some AM towers, some of the guy wires, or at least parts of the guy wires, are made of filastrand. It's a fiber type of cable instead of a metallic cable, just for that purpose, so it won't radiate and so it won't affect radiation patterns. Let's see, let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite, so let's get into HF a little bit here. Where's some simple dipole? I didn't spend enough time going through this to put things in as good of an order. I apologize for that. I have to use this. Here we go. I love portable operations. I love to go set up on a picnic table with a battery or something. Noji knows that. And we got to do some more this summer. In fact, anybody else that's interested when we're up for the summer, I love to go up to canyons and play radios. This is up on the Mogollon Rim near Payson, Arizona. And a little activity, radios on the rim that we called it. And that's my portable 40-75 meter dipole hung up in a tree. What is that? That's a dipole cut for 40 meters and loaded for 75. In fact, here, where's my? I guess this doesn't want to open.
You need to double click.
Oh, there we go. That's a Alpha Delta Dxdd antenna, which is a favorite, but I like to clone them homemade, and they're very easy to build. They're full length dipole at 40, and these are coils. They're not traps, they're coils, and they load it for 75. At 40 meters, those coils are high impedance, and at 75 meters, it resonates the antenna, loads it for 75 meters. But anyways, that's what, and that's, if anybody wants the instructions on how to build one, I can bring it up again if there's any interest there. Close current tab. Uh-oh, what happened to, okay. That's the coil. Whoop, not that good of a picture. That's the coil for it. And then I make these sections. So because it's a very high Q antenna at 75, and that's something that can be done another time, talking about that, to make it resonant so you can tune it without using an antenna tuning unit. I just pull these little sections off, and you pick up about 20 kc per section on that, if anyone has any interest in that. This is a ground mounted monopole. This is homemade. A fella in Arizona, in fact, the guy's name is Tony, and his wife, who is his sales force, her name is Judy. So for lack of anything else to call it, they never created a business name. So the bunch of us that are involved with these antennas, we named it the Tony Judy antenna. But it's a monopole made of 3-foot aluminum sections, 4 of them. And then this is the telescoping whip off of a buddy pole. And between sections and how many sections of the telescoping antenna are up will give you a perfectly resonant monopole. In other words, a ground mounted vertical for all the HF bands. You can put a coil on it and load it for 40 and 75 also. The tripod here, it's the clone of a Outbacker. He copied the Outbacker and made this. So it has wide aluminum feet. And I've done a lot of experimenting with that on wet grass, dry grass, concrete, etc., with and without wire counterpoises and stuff, because I love to experiment and play with stuff like that, and learned a lot. We could spend a night on that if anybody ever wanted to someday. This other one here, this is a portable, just that's an X50 on a Diamond or Comet. Diamond X thing is Diamond X50 on top of that. Mobile antennas, which I do a lot of mobile operating. My first mobile antenna about 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, somewhere in there, was a bug catcher. It was a monster. And it was overall length at 75 meters was 17 feet with a large coil. And it sure talked, but it was big and clumsy and cumbersome. And you want to move a few kc, you'd have to get out and readjust the whip length, unless you had an antenna tuning unit. It hit overhanging low wires, tree branches, etc., etc. So after running that, I decided to downscale to something a lot smaller. And I bought this High Sierra probably somewhere in the 90s or so, and still have this on this vehicle today. But the point I want to make on this is this antenna is it has a fairly decent coil. It's a 2.5-inch coil, and it's spaced a decent spacing apart. I think it's 14 gauge wire. It's a High Sierra, what's now Tar Heel. And it does a pretty darn good job. Can't complain. And I've got a 72-inch whip on top of this to complete it. Does a good job, all in all. But, okay, how do I get to my pictures again? Over here. That's what I'm running on my Tahoe that we run back and forth to Utah. I got the little ATAS antenna because I wanted something that was less cumbersome, something that could be easily mounted on the vehicle and still have decent performance. Also, I got to go back a step here. I ran a hamstick before I got the ATAS on this Tahoe here. And after running large mobile antennas, I saw the hamstick and said, 20 bucks, that's a piece of junk. You know, that's not going to work worth a hoot. And I bought one to play with it, and I tried it on a trailer hitch receiver. It was garbage. Just didn't work worth a hoot. Talked to other people who have had hamsticks, and they had them like on the bumper, like where I have the High Sierra on the other Tahoe. Doesn't work worth a hoot. I got one of those iron horse magnets for the hamstick and plopped it right down in the center of the roof of the truck. It worked like gangbusters. It equaled doing some shootouts with my two vehicles and a friend on each end. The vehicle's a couple of blocks apart. I did some shootouts with the hamstick and with the High Sierra on the two different Tahoes, and both antenna performance was identical on 40 meters. We only did 40 meters because that's the band I'm mostly interested in, operate on mostly, but antennas were identical on 40 meters with the hamstick up on top of the vehicle out in the clear. Did another shootout when I got the High Sierra, put the hamstick on another friend's vehicle on another radio, went out and did the same thing. The ATAS is neck and neck with the hamstick again mounted on the top of the roof on a good magnet mount out in the clear. Neck and neck in performance with the hamstick, neck and neck in performance with the High Sierra, the way that High Sierra is mounted on that other Tahoe. Give all the credit to the antenna being high up so you don't have ground resistance, out in the clear so you don't have detuning or any types of interference from the vehicle body being in the way. Makes all the difference in the world. So anyone that's interested in HF Mobile and see some of the monster antennas out there, yeah, that monster antenna mounted in the bed of a pickup truck out in where it's out in the clear or up on top of a toolbox in the bed of the truck, back a ways from the cab so it's out in the clear above the ground. Oh, it'll run circles around these things. But unless you have that type of a vehicle and a way to install it like that, you're as well off with this, or for a fraction of the price, a hamstick and on a magnet on the roof of the vehicle, and you're going to have the same performance. How do we do it? How are we doing on time? Noji?
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah, how are we doing on time?
If you've got about 10 more minutes, I think that we'll be good.
Okay, let's see. We'll just show off some other antennas here then. That's a dipole. That's a center fed dipole that I built that I use with one of my portable rigs. That's UHF. Here's a feed point. That's just a quarter wave antenna off of a walkie-talkie with a BNC fitting on it. This is a piece of LDF2, a 1/4-inch heliax. This is the outer jacket of a piece of 75 ohm semi-rigid TV coax, what you will see stringing between poles for CATV systems, and a little female BNC chassis mount connector on that. Little unity gain dipole. There it is on the little portable Go box that I use it on. For UHF, it's a FT8800 on that. And I've got it set up with a diplexer, so I can have just two, easier for me for that, two monoband antennas than the diplexer. That's a half wave at VHF. No counterpoise needed, works great. And there's your half wave at UHF in the form of a center fed dipole, end fed dipole there. Whoops. Here's a ground mounted vertical. This is a friend of mine back in Illinois. He sent me pictures of his ground mounted vertical. Again, and this is a monopole. It's 40 meters only. It's resonant at 7 megahertz. So this is a true monopole, a ground mounted vertical. I don't have a picture of the whole length of it, but it's 33 feet thereabouts in length. And you can see he does have a wire counterpoise also. Quite a number of radials. This is made with 14 gauge copper weld. Copper weld is steel wire with a copper jacket over it, just like a copper jacketed bullet, a lead bullet with a copper jacket, same difference, steel wire, copper jacket, called copper weld. For those that use the Utah SDR up in Corrine, up by Promontory Point, these are some pictures of the antennas on that. This is a directional log periodic antenna for HF. And I don't know which receiver that, if anybody knows who runs this site, I don't personally know him. I have a friend who does know who runs the site. I picked up a little bit of information, but anyone knows anybody that runs this site, if they're interested, you could probably pick up on it from them. This is directional, and it is on at least one of the receivers there. This is the main one here. This is a omnidirectional log periodic for HF. Directional log periodic does look very much like a GAGI. It is horizontally polarized. This is omnidirectional log periodic. Covers all the HF bands. Let's see, do I have a picture? Zoom it in with my finger if I can. You can see the wires, and you can see the various insulators on the wires that make up the log periodic. And I don't have a real understanding of this omnidirectional log and how it actually works. If there's anybody else there that does, that would like to comment, you're welcome to.
I know they have a website that describes the antenna. I don't remember what it is. It's been a while since I looked at it, but the Air Force actually put it up, and it is, from my understanding, one of the most expensive antennas you can buy.
Yeah, it was an Air
back then.
Yeah, it was. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know much more than that, but it's pretty incredible.
That it is.
Doug, it's said to have about 4 dB gain from the AM broadcast band up through, I think, 40 megahertz.
Oh, okay. That's good. Up to 40 megs. Wow.
Yeah. And the log periodic doesn't have as much gain as a standard Yagi, but it's gigantic. Those towers, it was kind of hard to tell the scale from the photo. Those are 94-foot towers.
Uh-huh.
That log periodic is pointed east without a rotator, because when you have hundreds of people using the same receiver, you don't want to give them control of where to point it. But yeah, it works fantastically.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that information. Let's see, somewhere I have, where are they? Is it these? Yeah, here we go. Went to Hawaii last April and got to operate from the ham shack or from the radio room on the Missouri at Pearl Harbor. And this is the antenna that is on the ship. This was the military antenna, one of the military antennas used on the ship. It is a commercially manufactured disc cone. I'm told by those people over there that it was made by Collins. And I didn't know that I didn't think Collins made antennas, but they told me that it was made by Collins. So I'll take their word for it. But this is people have seen little disc cones for VHF, UHF, whatever on, buildings or roofs, whatever. But this is an HF disc cone. It's pretty much flat across the HF band. There's a closer up. And I talked to my good friend Rick, WB7RPF, on 20 meters that day from that antenna. There's the feed point there. Oh, that's another, that's not the Missouri, that's another one. Oh, that's another conglomerate here that we wanted to get into here too, with what's wrong with antennas. When this antenna was originally installed on the tower, it was out in the clear, and lack of some management, a cellular outfit came along and they installed a cluster kludge of antenna and support systems, etc., around it, and the performance of this antenna was degraded because of that. And this antenna, oh, how did I stick that in there with the disc cones? Shoot, where are we at here? Son of a gun. Somehow my files got twisted around. I'm sorry. Okay, where were we here? Another topic here. Somehow something's goofed up with my computer here, something. Another topic I wanted to touch on here too, as far as towers are concerned. These are dipoles. This is for an FM station in the non-commercial band. In the non-commercial band, they are allowed to operate vertically polarized only now. It's a recent change in the rules from not too many years ago. 2010, the picture was taken. Just the main thing I want to bring out wasn't the dipoles as much, but anybody know what this is up here? What are these? If you can see my cursor running around them.
Those are dissipators.
What are they? They have a purpose. What are they?
Those
Anybody
are
know?
dissipators.
Dissipators. It's commonly known as a crown of thorns.
Yep.
That is what they are. They're static discharge dissipators, absolutely. And highly recommend, unless you have something fairly sharp pointed at the top of your towers, a good Yagi up there with some elements on it or something to make some fine tips. A vertical antenna at the very top that's DC shorted makes a good one. In fact, my X510 on the top of my tower, I can look at the radome with binocular and I can see little holes up towards the top that produce from static discharge over the years. That's
This
what I wanted.
question may be a little bit off topic, but
yeah,
what do they do for lightning protection on these big towers?
Well, it starts with that right there. It starts with that. The idea, the goal is to dissipate the charge before it becomes a large charge. And in many cases, that'll do the job. In this part of the country, though, where you get towering cumulonimbus clouds in the summertime that can be up 30, 40, 50, 60,000 feet, sometimes you're not going to be able to dissipate a little bit of energy until it becomes big energy. Of course, these aren't going to do any good. And that's where large cabling in the ground system comes into play. to try to carry the current as much as you can. But the real problem is in Arizona and likewise Utah, for the most part, the earth doesn't have any moisture in it. You know, there's so much decomposed granite and solid granite, and not much for moisture, not much for good ground conduction. So the goal for these tower sites in this terrain, in this climate, is more so than a good ground, is to bond everything together at the same DC potential. So if there's one building, tower comes down, ground cabling comes into the building, there's a halo wire about waist level, there's about around the building. Every rack is bonded to that. Every piece of equipment in every rack is bonded to the rack. So everything is bonded to everything in the building. Bring another building to the same site, another tower on the same site. Likewise, it gets bonded together, and then the two bonds bond together to form a single bond across the mountaintop. And that's the best source of lightning protection. But lightning is Mother Nature, and she does what she wants to do when she wants to do it. So sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. But it definitely improves the situation. That answer you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And the goal for that antenna on that tower that I started with before my pictures got messed up was they're going to be moved over here, so they aren't kludged in with the rest of this cluster, and they'll be out of way and back to as omnidirectional as they can be, with still the tower's going to put a little bit of a dent in it there, but still they're going to work just fine out there.
All right, Doug, you got about a minute.
Okay, then let's shut her down here. Let's see, there's other stuff, but I guess we don't have to do. Oh, let's just show some towers damaged by weather here. Here's a good one here. This was in Arizona, and I'll just skim through it. This is a 7,000-foot mountain. In fact, this mountain's a classic example of a ground system, a bonding system. There's over a mile of 1/0 copper underneath this mountaintop that bonds everything together. I'm trying to come up with pictures of ice on towers. Come on, there we go. And most tower sites in Utah, you're going to see this. In fact, here's, let's go to Utah just real quick. Here's Frisco Peak. This was the intertie. This is the tower the Intermountain Intertie was on when it iced up, if those who know about that a few years ago. There we go. So if you held your radio horizontally, you'd get into the mountaintop a little bit better than vertically until that was fixed. There's where the ice loading just sheared it right there, and down it went. All right, out of time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. And if we can do something another time again, be more than happy to. And we'll see you in person here in the summertime.
Well, thank you so much, Doug. And we appreciate the time you've taken to do this. Now, just so you guys know, Doug is a well-known repeater expert in several states, including Utah. And I failed to mention that at the beginning. But Doug, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to do this for us. And sharing your thoughts and ideas, especially some of the damage. That's very interesting. Anyway, let's give Doug a hand of applause, please.
All right. Well, an X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. No one knows it all. And so we're always open to questions, because when I teach and I answer questions, I learn. So thanks again. Go ahead there, Noji.
Well, if no one knows it all, you come close. Anybody have any remaining questions that you'd like to ask Doug at this time? 5 seconds. All right,
Doug,
time's up. Okay, go ahead.
Doug, what's your call sign?
If he doesn't hear you, it's WB7TUJ.
I muted. Yep, it's under my, if you want to write it down or read it there under the picture there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet. My email's good on the QRZ website. Just put ham radio in the topic, in the subject line.
All righty. Go ahead there, Seth.
I got a question. So it sounds like you like 40 meters and 75 meters. Is that right? I'm just curious why you like those bands.
Well, my number one interest in HF is a combination of hanging with circles of friends around the Mountain West and the Southwest, and also for MCOM. And 40 and 75 are the primary MCOM bands because you're going to be talking closer in, you're going to be talking locally around your state, possibly around your county. Church ERC, for those in the church ERC, it's your ward and your stake. You're not even going to use HF, but you're going to be using HF to contact Salt Lake City or whatever. You're not going to be using the upper bands at all. So those are I enjoy getting on the upper bands, calling CQ and making contacts. I'm not a DXer. I'm not really into that, but I mainly like to rag chew with circles of friends.
Great, thanks.
All right, I've got a question, Doug. So, so behind your head, next to the airplane on the wall there, I was just curious, there's a photo up there, and which one is you?
Slightly.
Okay, well, that cleared that up. All right, thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate that very much. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. Appreciate so much Doug taking his time to do this for us. Well, right now it is time for our door prizes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brent. Brent, are you ready to roll?
I am ready to roll, Noji.
Okay,
and thank you so much. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was just going to say. Go ahead, and I've got right here in my hot hands that very transceiver we're going to talk about. But go ahead, take it over from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Doug, for that wonderful lesson. My one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to actually start building my own antennas, and hoping that Noji is still willing to help me out with that. But you gave a lot of helpful insights for me tonight, so thank you so much for sharing all of that. So tonight we have 6 prizes. 4 of them are elected prizes, and then we have 2 main prizes. We're going to start with the 4 elected prizes. We have the signal stick HT antenna, the 1-year ARRL annual membership, a multi-tool set, and a club light. So, I'm sorry, can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
My iPad just gave a little power
froze.
warning. So, there's a wheel spinner here that I have launched. Everyone here is on here. The wheel will be given the spin. If it lands on your name will then be removed from the wheel, and we will spin again. Here we go. Okay, winner number 1 is David Becker, KI6 OSS 7404.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And out of these 4 prizes, the signal stick, the membership, multi-tool set, club light, which one would you like?
Signal stick sounds great.
You got it. Congratulations, Dave. All right, here we go. Noji.
What?
I am sorry to say you are not the winner.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good.
Steve Pabin, N7ZZS.
All right.
2020. Is he on YouTube?
Yes.
He was on Just a little while ago.
Is he
gave his
still
number
on?
YouTube.
All right, Steve Pabin, you there? Oh,
Shall I spin again?
well, no, you can, so Steve can text me. So Steve, if you're listening in on YouTube or whatever, feel free to text me and let me know what you'd like. But you got 5 seconds. Go.
You got the ARRL membership, the multi-tool set, and the club light.
He's not responding on YouTube.
All right. Someone send a paramedic over to see him, will you?
YouTube is like 2 minutes behind, I think.
Okay. Well, sorry, Steve. My bad. All right. Brent, go ahead and spin again in Steve's place.
Okay. Michael Bendio, AG7TM, triple
That's
six
me.
nine.
That's
Oh, that's
me.
funny. That's funny.
Why is that funny?
Because you showed up on the screen just a few seconds ago.
Oh, okay. So
I-
I'll take the membership.
You got
Great.
it.
You got it.
All right.
Congratulations,
much.
Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're down to the multi-tool set and the club light.
And by the way, Michael, could you please email or text me, and that way we can be in contact, and then I can give you the information you need to get that membership going.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, spin number 3. Jed Johnson, KJ3 BYU. 8444. Jed Johnson, are you on here?
I saw a couple Johnsons on there.
Yeah, Ryan and Jessica, but
Over that, it's not them.
yeah. Okay, he's got 5 more seconds.
Wait. Hold on.
Wait for it. Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
All right. Sorry, he snoozed.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Jed. My apologies, Jed.
Okay, Jed.
Next month.
Spinning for number 3 again. Well, Noji, I'm sad to say you're still not the winner.
Okay.
It's Jim
that's-
Cooper.
I don't think
1342.
you're really that sad, Brent. You don't act sad.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, that's me, Brent. Can you hear me?
Jim, yep, Jim, I can hear you.
Oh, excellent.
The tool set and the club light.
I'd like the tool set, please.
You got it.
Thank you.
Jim deserves to win. He worked so hard on his extra.
Okay.
true.
So the next person that I spin for will be getting the club light.
So he's got extra tools now. There we go.
You know, I really like this guy as an actor. Kevin Smith, 4656.
Is he on tonight? I didn't see his name. Kevin Smith. Nice touch. Oh, Brent's frozen.
Do we keep going? Spin again?
Yeah, looks like Oh, is he on? So did we reach him?
I haven't heard anything. Kevin Smith, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Yes, I'm on. I just can't get unmuted.
William Greer. That was William Greer.
We're looking for Kevin Smith.
Well,
Oh,
that's
there's
me.
Kevin. AG7.
Yeah, that's me. I just have to use William Greer because he's got a permanent Zoom account that we use with my VFW post.
Okay. So, William, you have won the Club Light.
That's Kevin, by the way.
Or Kevin, I'm sorry. Okay. Congratulations to our 4 elected prize winners. Now for the grand prize. Noji, do you want me just to pick a grand prize and then spin? Or should we spin and then have the person pick one of the 2?
You decide. You're the man. The pressure's on you, not me.
Ooh.
I'm through.
Feel
with
that
pressure.
power. Feel that power. Okay. So we have a handheld transceiver. And of course, we have a Pocris J-pole. Noji, you said that you wanted to explain the handheld transceiver, or?
Well, I just wanted to say that it's the Retivus RT85, exclusively amateur radio transceiver. Very nice. I've used it in the field, works really well, blah, 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 and it works.
Okie dokie. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spin. Whoever's name comes up gets the choice between the Pocris J-pole or the handheld transceiver. Here we go.
I see your eyeball going around and around.
Ben Payne, 5313.
Hey, Ben. Which one are you gonna pick, Ben,
Hey.
to make Sarah happy?
Yeah, I have 2 J poles, so I'll take the transceiver.
Okay.
You sure you don't want to make it a magic 3?
Well, I still need to find more room for the 2 that I have because they're too close together.
I was being sarcastic. I'm sorry. Okay. And the Pocris J-pole goes to ladies and gentlemen, it goes to Jessica Johnson, 7150.
Wow.
Good job.
That is awesome.
Yay, thank you.
All
Did you
right,
win something-
congratulations, Jessica.
Did you win the transceiver last month?
Yeah, now I have 2, just like Ben.
She did.
Congratulations, it's awesome.
She won a J-pole last time.
Hey, Noji, I'm sending you an email with the winners and their door prizes.
Okay, well, congratulations, Jess, General Jess, I mean,
You can have his and her antennas.
yeah.
That's the plan. Put one in the basement. We got one in the attic. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you can have like sword fights or something.
What do you think goes on over here, Noji? I'm just curious.
Well, you guys look like you're a peaceful couple, but in case something goes wrong, why, there you go. You can get yourself into a fight.
Just the visual of that.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to all of our door prize winners. And
Thank
Noji,
you
I'll
guys
just
very
turn it back over to you.
much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining in. Hey, it's good to see you back there behind in the background there, Sherry, by the way. And thanks everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate it. This ends the February meeting of the Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club. Thanks so much for your time. Good night, and we'll see you next month in person at Orem. 7-3.